to this Centremaps video. Today we're talking about tree data, which we're delighted to have on the interface, and a great complement to a lot of the other data sets we have. We want to do this video to give you some context where it's come from and what the value is in the data set. And we're lucky enough to be here today with Ralph Coleman from Bluesky.
Bluesky's been acquiring aerial photography and terrain data sets for the best part of 25 years, and the tree data set came about when we were working with one of our partners actually. They approached us with an idea and with one of their clients, who was an insurance company, to try and derive tree data, tree mapping data around buildings to look at subs risk. We did that and it was a really successful project, and then from there we realised that there was an opportunity to expand that and then possibly create a national data set of trees. We put a lot of hard work into it. It wasn't an easy product to create. There was various iterations of that moving forward, but ultimately we settled on an algorithm that enabled us to extract tree polygons, the height of trees, the location of trees from our aerial photography and terrain data sets.
Right, so it's tied in with that aerial photography capture, and I guess the currency all goes in line.
Exactly that. Yeah. So the currency of the aerial photography, is a 3-year currency. Right. So we've been working on a 3-year currency for about 10 years now, hopefully moving to a 2-year currency fairly shortly. So we acquired the aerial photography first, we then produce the terrain data sets, so the digital terrain model, the digital surface model. We also have a colour infrared layer, so all of the aerial photography is captured with 4 bands, so that's red, green, blue and infrared. From those products we then derive that tree data, so it's like a downstream product from the core products, the foundational geospatial products that we create.
Cool. And the data is actually, there's a couple of components to it on there. There's the raw, the outlines, but also then tree canopies. Just explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so I suppose the raw product is a gridded product. We take that from the digital surface model essentially. It's a difference height map basically from the DTM and the DSM. So if you looked at it in its raw form, it's tree canopy polygons in sort of a grid. But that's not what trees look like in real life. So what we've done with that is we've created these circular, idealised tree canopy polygons that mirror the same area as those gridded polygons as well. In addition to that, some users like to visualise that as just points. We also have points that represent each individual tree as well.
And I guess a concept since offering the product that we've tried to get across to people is, if you commission a tree survey, you might think about somebody going out on the ground and they'll survey the tree, they'll pick up the trunk, and they'll be thinking about the spread of the canopy above that. But actually, it's because it's the reverse direction, we're looking straight down, we're not particularly saying there is a trunk in a particular location.
Yes, that's exactly right. We're not magicians. No. All this is captured from aeroplanes, about 10,000 feet. So we cannot see where the trunk of the tree is. And what this is about is identifying individual trees and tree canopy areas and the size of the tree canopy, rather than trying to identify any features below the trees or the structure of the trees or anything like that. So that's a really key point. Yeah,
and the height attribute in there as well is very useful.
Indeed. So there are some of the tree products available in the market. They're a bit more piecemeal, as are national products, but as you say, they also include a height, which is probably one of the unique qualities of the national tree map, certainly.
I guess a lot of our clients probably coming to look at specific sites, and so just for us, having OS mapping maybe, and then suddenly this whole additional context of actually what your site layout is, it's been quite a natural progression for people to suddenly sort of see the data there. It does make the sites feel a lot more familiar, we think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I completely agree with that. I think what we're seeing in the market at the moment is a lot more focus on trees for lots of reasons. Trees have to be managed as a dynamic risk by all sorts of practitioners in lots of different vertical markets. The obvious ones are things like insurance. So the insurance market, subsidence is one of the perils they identify. Looking at the way that trees affect insurance claims for subs is a big factor in why we were initially doing this, but that has been still one of the biggest markets for us. Outside of that, things like encroachment of vegetation on overhead power lines for utilities, local authorities. Lots of local authorities already have a database of their own trees on their own public land, but lots of them have no idea where their trees are on private land. So that's a huge advantage to them to be able to identify those private trees as well. Over and above that, there's lots more work going on at the moment to look at tree canopy over local authority areas, or in fact all sorts of areas, so LSOAs, parishes, right up to districts and counties and national data as well. So looking at the percentage of tree canopy has become a huge thing in the market at the moment. More recently, the legislation around BNG, so biodiversity net gain for construction, civil engineering, that is also driving a bigger demand for tree data as well. So that's causing us to review how we're creating the tree data and what other elements or other attributes we might be able to add to that tree data. So we've got big ideas for the National Tree Map going forward as well.
So it's not a finished.
Oh, no, absolutely. Nothing's ever finished.
Always evolving.
Yeah, indeed. So some of the obvious things that we always get asked, and in fact, I've very rarely spoken to anyone about the tree data without them saying, does it include species? We'd love it to include species. We've been doing lots of hard work over the past, 5, 6, 7 years to try and get to a position where we can attribute the tree data at scale with species. Sadly, it's not an easy thing to do, and we could do it on a more local basis using things like multispectral data, hyperspectral data. However, doing something at scale is far more challenging. The good news is we're working really hard at the moment. We're working with UK academia, with a couple of universities, also some private sector partners to try and make that a reality, and we're having some success at the moment. So I think the species side of it is very much watch this space.
And could it be something that comes in stages? Is it a coniferous versus non-coniferous?
Exactly that. You beat me to the punch there. So yeah, I think the first thing would more likely to be a binary classification between deciduous, coniferous, and then we build perhaps 5 key species from that. So one of those fairly obviously might be ash. Yes, we have a big problem with ash dieback in this country, and the figures that are being quoted are eye-watering for the central government. So if we could get to a position where we could identify ash trees and then attribute that to the National Tree Map, it would be a huge win, I think, for us and our customers.
Yeah. We've got it in the data set, and it's there as a natural kind of way of enhancing the data you're getting along with the aerial imagery, just adding context all the time, whether it's surface types, understanding roof structures, and now trees, that's great, but it is quite interesting when you get into these bigger projects, and I mentioned our housing association we've worked with, where actually just looking at how they're going to manage their grounds maintenance and their trees, being able to jump-start that process by having immediate data around all their properties as a starting point. And sure, they want to go out and do tree surveys where they have concerns about particular things, but it's there. You can just get started almost within a day.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think it's the flexibility, because it is a national product. People can just license that data in chunks, however much they need. I think quite often people don't realise the challenge that trees can pose to all sorts of different practitioners. You mentioned housing associations there. I know trees are a huge issue for housing associations. They pose a risk to property. They need to know where they are, how big they are, but you're absolutely right. What the National Tree Map won't do in a number of cases is replace the need to go out and do a tree survey. It's really designed to be a first phase, look at what's there, and then from that you can then move on and do a tree survey.
Absolutely, and that's the case with a lot of our data sets.
Indeed.
We wouldn't ever recommend building construction of a building without going on site and checking that the OS mapping is correct.
Sure.
It all works at that level, that stage in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ralph. If you want to find out more, then do visit the site and then check out what we've got available. You can create your area on the interface, or if you've got more evolved questions where you're looking at a project where you've got assets across the country, then do give us a call. We can chat about how we can help you with that. Thanks.